Ada sat in her big office, looking out the window. The sun was bright and the world felt full of possibilities. Her phone rang. It was Chike. "Ada, have you seen the news?" he asked, excitement in his voice. "No," she said. "What happened?" "Your foundation is everywhere." Chike laughed. "People all over the world are talking about you. Your story is inspiring so many." Ada smiled, but deep inside, she still found it hard to believe. Just a few years ago, she was struggling with no one to help her. But now, her life had changed. Just then, her secretary walked in holding a white envelope. "Madam, this letter just arrived. It's very important." Ada opened it slowly. As she read, her eyes widened. "Chike," she said over the phone, "a big charity group from another country wants to partner with us. They believe in what we are doing. They want to help us grow." Chike laughed again. "I told you, Ada, this is just the beginning." Ada held the letter close to her heart. She had fought so many battles, but now she was winning. And the best part, she was not just winning for herself. She was winning for every woman who had ever felt alone. This was not the end. It was just the beginning of something greater. One morning, Ada woke up to the sound of her phone ringing non-stop. "Hello," she answered. "Ada, it was Obinna, her son. People are coming to the village, journalists, visitors, even foreigners. They all want to see where you come from." Ada sat up, surprised. "Foreigners?" "Yes, Mama," Obinna said. "They are taking pictures, asking questions. Some people say they want to build schools and hospitals here. Mama, our village is becoming famous." Ada's heart swelled with emotion. She quickly dressed up and went to the village. When she arrived, she saw a sight she had never imagined. Cars were parked everywhere. People were walking around, pointing at different places, taking notes and asking the villagers about her story. An old woman grabbed Ada's hands, her eyes shining with joy. "My daughter, because of you, the world now knows our name." A journalist walked up to Ada, holding a microphone. "Madam Ada, your story has touched so many lives. What do you have to say to the world?" Ada took a deep breath. She looked around at her people, the ones who had once abandoned her, the ones who had once whispered behind her back. And now they were standing with pride, their heads held high. She smiled. "I want the world to know that no matter where you come from, no matter what you have been through, you can rise again." The crowd clapped and cheered. That day, Ada knew one thing for sure. Amucha would never be the same again. The church was full that Sunday morning. The villagers sat quietly, waiting for the priest to speak. The air felt different, like something important was about to happen. The priest stepped forward, looking at everyone with kind eyes. He smiled and raised his hands. "My people, today I want to talk about something special." The crowd listened carefully. The priest turned his gaze to Ada, who sat near the front. We all know Ada's story. We saw how she suffered. We saw how she was cast aside. But look at her now. Look at what she has done for us. Some villagers nodded. Others whispered to each other. "I have prayed about this," the priest continued, "and I believe Ada is a gift from God. She was sent to change this village and her family forever." A deep silence filled the church. Ada's heart beat fast. She never thought of herself that way. The priest smiled. God gave her strength. He gave her a heart that forgives. Instead of using her pain to destroy, she used it to build. And because of her, the village is now known all over the world. Ada felt tears in her eyes. She looked around and saw the faces of people who once doubted her, people who once turned their backs on her. But now, they were looking at her with respect and admiration. An old woman suddenly stood up and clapped. Soon, the whole church followed. The claps turned to cheers. Ada is truly a blessing, someone shouted. Ada wiped her eyes. She never wanted fame. She only wanted to help. But hearing those words, feeling the love of her people, she knew one thing. Her journey was not just for herself. It was for everyone. Obinna sat outside, watching the children play. His heart was full, but something still felt missing. He turned to Ada. Mama, I want to do something for this village. Ada smiled. You are already helping, Obinna. Your ideas have made the foundation grow. No, Mama. Obinna shook his head. I mean something big. Something that will help people for years and years. Ada listened. Obinna took a deep breath. A hospital. Ada's eye widened. A hospital? Yes, Mama. Do you remember how people used to suffer? How they had to travel far just to see a doctor? Some even died on the way. Ada's face changed. She remembered everything. She had seen women crying over their sick children. She had seen men begging for help when there was none. Obinna sat up straight. I want to build a world-class hospital here. Mama, no one should have to suffer like that again. Ada reached out and held her son's hand. Obinna, that is a beautiful dream, and I will stand by you every step of the way. And so the journey began. Days turned into months. Land was bought. Engineers were called. The whole village came together to support the project. Finally, after much hard work, the hospital was completed. It was beautiful, standing tall like a sign of hope. Obinna called the villagers for the opening ceremony. When everyone had gathered, he took the microphone and smiled. This hospital is for all of us, and I have named it after the person who taught me how to be strong. A big sign was unveiled. Ada Foundation Hospital. Tears filled Ada's eyes. She looked at her son with pride. The villagers shared. This was more than a hospital. It was proof that no matter how dark the past was, the future could still shine bright. The sun was bright, and the village square was full of people. Drums were beating, and dancers moved to the rhythm. It was a special day. Ada was going to be given a great honor. She stood in front of the crowd, dressed in a beautiful red and gold attire. The village elders sat in a row, watching her with respect. The oldest elder stepped forward and raised his staff. Ada, he called, today we honor you. You have lifted this village. You have given us hope. Because of you, our name is known everywhere. The crowd cheered loudly. The elder continued, from this day, you shall be known as Ada Ejijemba, one of Amucha Autonomous Community. He placed a red cap on her head and handed her a staff of authority. The moment was powerful. Ada's hands trembled as she held the staff. She looked at the faces in the crowd. She had once laughed at her pain, but now they clapped for her victory. She took a deep breath and spoke. I accept this with humility, she said. Her voice was calm but strong. This title is not just mine. It belongs to everyone who believed in me. It belongs to Amucha. The villagers cheered loudly. Women ululated. Children jumped with joy, and men beat their chests in pride. As Ada looked around, she felt something deep in her heart. This was not just a title. It was proof that no matter how broken a person's past was, they could still rise. Later that night, Ada sat outside, looking at the stars. The excitement of the day was still in her heart, but she felt something else too, gratitude. Chike walked up to her and sat down. He looked at her with a small smile. "How do you feel, my queen?" Ada chuckled. "Queen, you say?" "Of course," Chike said. "You are now Ada Ejujemba. You carry power, respect, and honor." Ada sighed. "I never wanted power, Chike. I only wanted to survive." Chike reached for her hand. "But look at what you have done. You did not just survive. You built something great, and I am proud of you." Ada turned to look at him. "Chike, I could never have done this without you. You stood by me when no one else did. You saw something in me, even when I couldn't see it in myself." Chike smiled. "That's because I knew the truth, Ada. You were never weak. You were only waiting for the right time to show your strength." Ada squeezed his hand. "We built this together. The foundation, the hospital, everything. And we will build even more." Chike nodded. "Together." The night wind blew softly around them. In that moment, Ada knew she was not alone. No matter what challenges came next, she and Chike would face them together. Ada sat outside under the big mango tree, watching the sun slowly set. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink. It was a peaceful evening, but inside her heart, she knew there was something she needed to do. Her parents sat across from her, looking nervous. Her mother's hands shook as she held her wrapper tightly. Her father cleared his throat, but said nothing. Ada took a deep breath. "Mama, Papa," she started, "I have carried pain in my heart for many years, but today I want to let it go." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "Ada, we are sorry. We should have fought for you. We should have been stronger." Ada looked at her mother's face, then at her father's. They were old now, their faces lined with regret. "I was angry for a long time," Ada said, "but I have learned something. Holding on to anger is like carrying a heavy load on your back. It only makes life harder." Her father bowed his head. "We don't deserve your kindness, Ada." Ada reached for her mother's hands and held them gently. "I forgave you long ago," she said softly. "I choose love, not hate." Her mother broke into quiet sobs. "Thank you, my daughter." Her father finally looked at her, his voice shaking. "We are proud of you, Ada. The whole world sees your greatness, and we are lucky to call you our daughter." A warm feeling filled Ada's heart. She had waited years to hear those words. At that moment, she felt truly free. The village of Amusha had changed. It was no longer the forgotten place it once was. People from different countries visited, eager to see the village that had risen from nothing. One afternoon, Ada stood on a small stage, speaking to a group of young women. "No matter where you start, you can rise above," she told them. "Your past does not decide your future. Only you can do that." The women clapped, their faces filled with hope. Nearby, Obinna was busy working on a new school for the village. He smiled as he watched his sister. "Ada, do you see what you have done?" he asked. Ada turned to him. "What have I done?" she teased. Obinna laughed. "You have turned Amusha into a place of dreams. People no longer see this village as small and forgotten. They see it as a land of hope." Ada smiled. "And we are not done yet." Together, she and Obinna continued building more schools, more hospitals, more projects to help people. They knew that Amusha's future was bright, and they would do everything to make it shine even more. Years passed, but Ada's name remained in the hearts of many. Her foundation kept growing, helping single mothers and poor children. The hospital Obinna built was now the best in the region, saving lives every day. One afternoon, Ada walked through the hospital hallways, watching doctors and nurses care for patients. A young girl ran up to her, holding her mother's hand. "Are you Ada?" the little girl asked, her eyes wide. Ada smiled. "Yes, I am." The mother wiped her tears. "Thank you, Ada. This hospital saved my child's life. Without you, I don't know what we would have done." Ada's heart warmed. This was why she fought so hard, not for wealth or fame, but to make sure no one else had to suffer the way she once did. That night, as Ada lay in bed, she thought about her journey. The pain, the struggles, the victories. She had started with nothing, yet she had built something that would live forever. She whispered to herself, "If I can rise from the ashes, so can anyone." Her story was no longer just hers. It belonged to every person who had ever felt lost but refused to give up. The evening breeze was cool as Ada sat on the porch of her new home. The sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. Her heart was full. Obinna sat beside her, watching their children play. Chike stood by the window, looking at the peaceful village. Ada took a deep breath. "We've been through so much," she said softly, "but we made it." Obinna nodded, "And we did it together." Chike came to sit with them. "The world knows your name, Ada, but to me, you are still the strong woman who never gave up." Ada smiled and placed her hand on his. "And you stood by me through it all." Obinna chuckled. "No matter what comes next, we will face it as a family." Ada looked at the sky, feeling peace in her heart. "The future is bright," she whispered, and she knew it deep inside, that no matter what happened, their story of love, strength, and hope would continue for generations to come. This story has been an emotional journey. Ada's story taught me the power of forgiveness and the importance of never giving up. No matter what life throws at you, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. What have you learned from Ada's story? Share your thoughts in the comments and type "Continue more exciting stories." If you want more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story. Much love from African Culture Folktales.